In the darkness, deep beneath the earth, I awoke. My name, Eldrick, echoed in my mind, a whisper from a life long past. The crypt that cradled me was both my tomb and my womb, shielding me in death and now birthing me into a world unknown. The very air was alien, thick with an unfamiliar scent that spoke of time's relentless march. My fingers traced the contours of my sarcophagus, feeling the ancient runes carved into its stone. Runes I had once known like the back of my hand, now strange and distant. The walls around me, cold and damp, were adorned with faded frescoes of a forgotten era, telling tales of a world that had moved on without me. Stirring from my crypt, I reached out to the shadows, calling forth those who would serve me. From the earth they came, skeletal beings clad in the remnants of a bygone age, and the undead, their flesh a grotesque mockery of life. They stood before me, silent and obedient, remnants of a power I wielded before my slumber. As I emerged from the crypt, the world that greeted me was a tapestry of enigmas. Lights, unlike any torch or candle, flickered in the night, painting the darkness with their ghostly glow. Structures loomed, made of materials unknown to me, their forms alien and imposing. I was a relic, a specter from an age long dead, now wandering in a time that was not my own. The town, with its strange lights and peculiar edifices, was a labyrinth of confusion. Each step I took was a journey through a history unknown, a passage through a realm that had forgotten the dread of Eldrick. The air itself felt different, charged with a hum of unseen energies, a chorus of a world reborn in my absence. I walked its streets, a phantom amongst the living, unseen and unknown. The people, lost in their own worlds, paid no heed to the shadow that drifted among them. Their attire, their speech, their very mannerisms were foreign to me. It was as if I had awoken in a land not just distant in time, but in essence. The memories of my past, my dominion, my fall, my entombment, swirled within me like a maelstrom. The thirst for power, once my beating heart, now surged anew, a tempest of ambition and dark desire. In this strange new world, I would carve out my empire, bending this unknowable era to my indomitable will. A building, grander and more imposing than the rest, caught my eye. It stood as a bastion of authority and order, its architecture unfamiliar yet commanding. Here, in this citadel of modern governance, I would begin my ascent, reclaiming the throne of shadows that was rightfully mine. Yet, within the depths of my soul, a flicker of my former humanity stirred. Memories of laughter, love, and human connections clashed with the cold, unyielding purpose of my current existence. I quashed these remnants of Eldrick the man, embracing fully the mantle of Eldrick the Necromancer, my heart as barren of warmth as the grave that had been my prison. As the moon bathed the town in its pallid light, I moved with my spectral entourage towards the grand building. Our presence was an unseen blight, a silent curse upon the sleeping town. The moment of terror, the dawn of my new reign, was at hand. The town, nestled in its blanket of modern complacency, was on the cusp of awakening to a truth as ancient as the grave itself. I was once a mere footnote in the annals of history. Now I stood ready to inscribe a new chapter of fear and subjugation upon this world. The fate of the town was sealed, and soon it would quiver under the weight of my dark reign. In the shroud of night, I wandered Morrowfall's unfamiliar streets, the cobblestones cold and alien beneath my feet. The world around me was an enigma, its rhythms and sounds foreign to my ancient ears. Buildings rose like silent, stoic giants, their windows glowing with ethereal lights that danced and flickered in ways fire never could. Under the cloak of darkness, I summoned more of my silent servants. From the earth, they rose, a macabre parade of bone and rot, their movements a grotesque ballet in the moonlight. We moved unseen, the living none the wiser to the shadows that slipped through their midst. Each night my minions ventured forth at my behest, slipping into homes where families lay in slumber, oblivious to the terror that lurked at their doorsteps. With every soul they brought to me, I felt a resurgence of power, a dark energy coursing through my veins like a long-forgotten elixir. Morrowfall, once a haven of peace, now trembled on the brink of an abyss. Doors were barred, windows shuttered, yet the growing dread was palpable, seeping into every nook and cranny. Whispers of wild beasts, of kidnappers in the shadows, filled the air. None could fathom the ancient horror that had descended upon them. I watched them, these modern people, with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. They moved with purpose, yet seemed utterly oblivious to the world beyond their own. Their clothes, their speech, even their very demeanors were puzzles to me, pieces of a jigsaw I could scarcely comprehend. As I roamed the silent streets, my mind was a cauldron of past and present. Visions of my former reign, my fall, and the centuries of silence that followed, mingled with the sights and sounds of this new world. I was a specter from a forgotten age, now reborn with a thirst for dominion that time had not quenched. One structure, in particular, drew my attention. It stood proudly in the town's heart, a building of importance, its facade stern and commanding. This would be my bastion, the seat from which I would cast my shadow over Morrowfall. The architecture was unlike the fortresses of my time, but its purpose was unmistakable. A center of power, a throne waiting for its king. Within me, there flickered a spark of what I once was. A man with dreams, desires, and a heart capable of love and loss. These memories fluttered like frail moths against the unyielding darkness of my purpose. I pushed them aside, burying Eldrick, the man beneath the rising tide of Eldrick the Necromancer, my heart now as empty as the crypt that had been my prison. Under the watchful gaze of the moon, my minions and I crept toward the town hall, our presence a malignancy in the heart of Morrowfall. The building, with its stoic facade, was oblivious to the nightmare that approached. Its walls, bathed in the silver light of the moon, seemed almost to quiver in anticipation or dread. We, the bringers of nightfall, gathered in the shadows, a grotesque tableau of death's artistry. The moment to strike, to unleash the first wave of terror upon this unsuspecting town, was upon us. Morrowfall, cocooned in its modern illusion of safety, was on the cusp of a rude awakening. I am a once-forgotten whisper from a bygone era, now stood poised to inscribe my dark will upon this new age. The fate of the town was in my hands, and soon its people would know the true horror of a nightmare made flesh. The moon hung low, a pale sentinel in the starless sky, as I wove my dark tapestry over Morrowfall. The town, shrouded in an uneasy stillness, lay before me, its streets a labyrinth of shadows and whispers. The air was thick with the scent of autumn, leaves carpeting the ground in a mosaic of decay, rustling underfoot as my minions and I moved unseen. Night after night, we ventured deeper into the heart of the town. My minions, ghastly apparitions of bone and decay, slinked through the alleyways and streets, their presence as silent as the grave. Homes that once resonated with the warmth of life now stood as hollow echoes, their inhabitants unknowingly surrounded by an ancient malevolence. In the quiet of their homes, the people of Morrowfall slept, oblivious to the creeping dread that had infested their town. Each abduction, each soul taken, was a thread in the ever-growing web of my power. I could feel the resurgence within me, a dark symphony playing in my veins, each note a harbinger of the terror I would unleash. Morrowfall, now teetered on the edge of an unseen abyss. The air was charged with a palpable tension, a prelude to the nightmare that was to unfold. Doors locked and windows sealed, the townspeople whispered of unknown horrors, their words a futile charm against the encroaching darkness. As I traversed the town, the modernity of it all was a curious spectacle. The people, wrapped in their own worlds, were blind to the spectral shadow that roamed among them. Their clothes, their contraptions, their very way of life were riddles wrapped in enigmas, each more perplexing than the last. The memories of my past life, of a time when my word was law and my power unchallenged, clashed with the reality of this new world. I was a relic of a bygone age, a phantom out of time, now reborn with a hunger for dominion that had only grown in the silence of the grave. My gaze turned to the town hall, a monolith of modern governance, its walls standing proud and unyielding. This would be my fortress, my command center from which I would reign over Morrowfall. The building, with its stark lines and imposing presence, was a symbol of the authority I would soon usurp. Within me, a flicker of my former humanity struggled against the tide of my dark purpose. Memories of a life once lived, of laughter and sorrow, fought for a foothold in the desolate landscape of my soul. But I pushed them aside, burying Eldrick, the man beneath the relentless march of Eldrick, the Necromancer. My heart now as cold and unyielding as the stone of my crypt. Under the cloak of night, we approached the town hall, a silent army of death and despair. The building, illuminated by the moon's ghostly light, stood oblivious to the nightmare at its doorstep. Its walls, steeped in the false security of modernity, were about to crumble under the weight of an ancient and relentless evil. We, the heralds of darkness, gathered in the shadows, poised to unleash the first wave of terror upon Morrowfall. The moment had arrived, the hour when the sleeping town would awaken to a reality as old and as merciless as death itself. Morrowfall, ensnared in its own modern delusions, was about to face a truth as ancient as the earth itself. I, once a mere echo in history's forgotten pages, now stood ready to etch my name upon this new era with a script of fear and subjugation. The fate of the town lay in my grasp, and soon its people would come to know the true horror of a nightmare made manifest. The night draped itself over Morrowfall like a funereal shroud, whispering secrets of impending doom. I stood with my grotesque legion at the precipice of terror, the town hall casting its imposing shadow over us like an unwitting harbinger of its own demise. The building, a modern citadel of governance, was unaware of the ancient nightmare lurking in its midst. With a silent signal, I unleashed my minions. Like a tide of shadows, they surged forward, a macabre wave of bone and rot. Their movements, jerky and unnatural, were a sinister ballet played out on the stage of the night. Windows shattered under the relentless assault of skeletal hands, the sound a discordant symphony to my ears. The town erupted into chaos. Screams pierced the night as my undead servants flooded the streets, their presence a blight upon the living. People fled in terror, their faces etched with the horror of seeing their darkest nightmares come to life. The streets, once pathways of mundane life, were now corridors of despair, echoing with the cries of the damned. In the heart of this pandemonium, the town hall became my throne room. Its walls, once symbols of order and authority, now bore witness to my dark ascension. I stepped through its shattered doorway, a king reclaiming his forsaken kingdom. The grandeur of the hall, with its modern trappings, bowed under the weight of my ancient will. The town, enveloped in my dark embrace, writhed under the grip of fear. Morrison, my minions roamed unchallenged, their grotesque forms a stark contrast to the fleeing figures of the townsfolk. The air was thick with the scent of terror, a pungent aroma that fed my ever-growing hunger for dominion. The town hall, now my fortress, was a beacon of dread in the heart of Morrowfall. From its broken windows, the cries of the captured and the conquered echoed into the night. I stood amidst the ruins of modernity, a dark lord presiding over a kingdom of despair. My minions, relentless in their task, scoured the town, bringing it to heel under my unbreakable will. The streets, once alive with the hustle and bustle of everyday life, were now silent but for the haunting moans of the undead and the distant wails of the defeated. Morrowfall, once a haven of peace and normalcy, had succumbed to my reign of shadows. The town, with its modern illusion shattered, lay prostrate at my feet, a testament to the undying power of the ancient and the arcane. Dawn never came to Morrowfall. The town, ensnared in an eternal twilight, lay under a shroud of despair. The town hall, now a citadel of dread, rose like a dark monument against the dim sky, its shattered windows gaping like open wounds. Through the desolate streets, where echoes of life had once resonated, there now roamed only the damned. Skeletal sentinels patrolled the pathways, their bones clattering in a morbid rhythm, while the zombies shuffled aimlessly, a grotesque mockery of their former selves. The air was thick with decay, a suffocating blanket that smothered the town in hopelessness. The townsfolk, those who had not fallen prey to the Dark Legion, huddled in the shadows, their eyes wide with terror. They whispered in hushed tones, their voices tinged with despair, recounting tales of loved ones lost and a future stolen. Once vibrant with community and laughter, Morrowfall had become a ghost town, its soul crushed under the weight of an ancient curse. In the heart of this desolation, the town hall stood as the epicenter of the newfound dominion. Its halls, once bustling with the affairs of the living, now echoed with the hollow footsteps of the undead. The grandeur of its architecture, a testament to modernity's pride, had been defiled by the macabre presence of the undead. The throne, fashioned from the remnants of the town's relics, sat in the main chamber, a grotesque seat of power. Upon it rested the Dark Lord of Morrowfall, surveying the kingdom of shadows with cold, unfeeling eyes. The whispers of humanity, the faint memories of a life long past, had been extinguished, leaving only the chilling resolve of a being reborn in darkness. Outside, the horizon stretched, a bleak canvas awaiting the spread of the nightmare. The once bustling streets, lined with quaint homes and shops, stood silent, their doors barred, windows shattered. The trees, their leaves turned to ash, stood as lifeless sentinels, bearing witness to the town's fall. In the distance, beyond the confines of Morrowfall, lay other towns, other lives, oblivious to the darkness that had taken root in their midst. The horizon beckoned, a siren call to spread the reign of terror, to weave a tapestry of nightmares across the land. Morrowfall, once a haven of peace, had become the first jewel in a crown of darkness. The town, with its broken spirit and haunted streets, was a testament to the power that had claimed it. The night, once a time of rest and dreams, was now an endless abyss, a realm where fear reigned supreme. The world beyond, still bathed in the light of day, remained unaware of the horror that lurked in the shadows. But the darkness was growing, its appetite insatiable. Morrowfall was just the beginning, a harbinger of the terror that was to unfold. The reign of the nightmare had begun, and the world would soon tremble under its shadow.